Last summer, I got extremely lean without tracking a single calorie. No MyFitnessPal, no food scale, and no logging any calories. Just some very simple habits that made fat loss automatic. My name is Conan. I'm an online weight loss coach, and I've helped over hundreds of busy men drop body fat, build muscle, all without sacrificing their favorite foods or spending hours on the treadmill. Now here's the thing, even as someone who usually likes to keep track of every single thing I put into my body, last summer I lived in Florida and I got super shredded without tracking a single thing. So in today's video, I'm gonna break down exactly how I did it and how you can lose fat too without having to track every single bite. We'll cover the activity that burned thousands of extra calories, the eating rules that make overeating almost impossible, and the 4 principles you can copy today. Principle 1, move more than the average guy. So last summer, I was walking up to 20,000 steps every single day. Add in runs on the beach and lifting 6 times a week, my activity was through the roof. Now, most guys are extremely sedentary. If you just add consistent walks and daily movement, you'll create a calorie deficit without even realizing it. So aim for at least 10 to 12,000 steps every single day. Walking is the easiest fat loss hack that no one takes seriously. Now, I know for most of you watching this probably have a sedentary desk job, and I myself also have a pretty sedentary job. I'm sitting down on my computer most of the time, building programs, doing client check-ins, doing sales calls. So I myself am also a pretty sedentary person when it comes to my own job, but I still try to make walking and moving daily a big priority within my life. And so a couple of hacks that I like to use personally is number 1, I have one of these Fitbits or Apple Watches. This simply just holds me accountable so I know exactly how many steps I'm at throughout the day. I got it for like 50 bucks off Amazon. I don't even think it's a Fitbit, to be honest. It's one of these knockoff Chinese versions. I got it like 4 or 5 years ago. It's waterproof, it's extremely durable, it's lasted me up until this day. The battery life is insane. I only charge it like maybe once every 2 weeks or so, and all I really use it is to keep track of my daily steps. And so the way that I personally like to get my steps in is obviously like I train for my marathon, so I do run quite a bit, so that already does it for me. But whenever I'm not running, especially back in Florida, I wasn't running as much as I am now. I would just literally make walking part of my daily routine. So I'd go on a morning walk. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I just make it a habit where I'd wake up, get some sunlight exposure, which is super good for your circadian rhythm. And then I knock that with getting a couple thousand steps in outside. Maybe during my lunch break, I'll go on a walk. I'll go on an evening walk as well. At the gym, in between sets, I'll walk around. I'll do a warm up at the gym. I'll do a cool down at the gym on the treadmill. And then whenever I could just like mix an activity or mix a task with walking, I do that as well. So if I have to maybe get on a phone call with someone, I like to do that while walking around. If I need to text some people, I'll do that while walking on the treadmill. If I want to listen to a podcast, I actually make a rule to myself that I can only listen to that podcast if I'm outside or if I'm on the treadmill getting in steps. So I like to almost like multitask when it comes to getting my steps in, because honestly, I find walking very boring and honestly almost like a waste of time. Like I see old people walking around and they seem so at peace. They're just walking, enjoying the sunshine, smelling the fresh air. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could be like you, but that could not be me. Like I need to like multitask. I need to do something while walking, because walking is a pretty easy activity. You don't really have to like think about walking. You just kind of walk. And so you might as well combine that activity with something else, right? Whether it's calling someone, texting someone, even like scrolling on TikTok if you want to, just to make the time go by, listening to a podcast, whatever it may be. And this way you're basically killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So if you're already gonna be calling someone, if you're already gonna be texting someone, you might as well be burning calories while doing that as well. And so those are some really easy strategic things that you can start implementing into your routine right away to start increasing your daily step count. Morning walks, afternoon walks, lunch break walks, evening walks, any type of walk really, walking around the gym in between sets, walking on the treadmill whenever you can, whenever you're calling someone or texting someone, just walking. Small other things as well, like parking a bit further away from work, parking a bit further away from the grocery store. Any opportunity you have to walk, do it. Even doing the chores, doing the dishes, grocery shopping. Like I love grocery shopping. I spend a lot of time with high-level entrepreneurs and people who almost like buy back their time, and they find it crazy that I am still doing my own grocery shopping, but they do not realize that number 1, I enjoy grocery shopping. It's one of my favorite things that I do. It's super weird, but I just like scrolling through the aisles and seeing what's on sale and stuff. But then also I probably get in like a couple thousand steps just extra just by simply going to the grocery store, looking at different foods, honestly just like having fun, playing around. So yeah, I just kind of like live this super active lifestyle because I know that not only will I be more productive that way, I can also burn more calories by increasing my daily step count. Principle number 2, build your meals around fruits, veggies, and proteins. So my diet isn't measured, it's just very structured. Every meal had lean protein, tons of veggies, and usually fruit as my carb source. Now these foods that I just listed, lean proteins, whether it's chicken breast, fish, egg whites, Greek yogurt, alongside fruits and veggies are all very low in calories, but then also very high in volume, which makes you stay nice and full without overdoing it on the calories. Now, if just 80% of your total intake come from these foods, it's almost impossible to overeat. For example, a big plate of chicken breast with some veggies and fruit typically has around 500 calories and will leave you feeling super full and satiated. And now if you were to compare that to 500 calories worth of pizza, you'd still be left feeling super hungry. And now the issue with these hyper palatable foods, whether it's pizza or burgers or fries or ice cream, is that not only are they very calorically dense, meaning that they're very high in calories for very little volume, they also just trigger a response in your body to make you want to eat even more of them. Typically, whenever we binge on our diet, it tends to be due to those types of foods, whereas we never really binge on chicken breast or on fruits or on veggies. Unless you're a maniac, like myself maybe, you don't hear anyone do that. I probably did binge a couple times. I still definitely was in a calorie deficit, but I went through like 8 apples in one sitting. I was just so hungry. I'm like, I want to keep on eating. I want to keep on eating. Probably down like 8 apples in one sitting. I definitely did not feel the best because I had all this fiber in me. But if I were to compare that to overeating on, let's say, the same amount of food on pizza, for example, or on ice cream, I would have had way more calories and I would have felt way worse about myself and would have been way over my calorie limits. And so that's just a prime example of like, if you are prone to binging on your diet, you might as well binge on apples than on ice cream. So even if you were to binge, on healthier food, the damage isn't going to be as severe. If anything, you're likely still going to be within your daily calorie range, which is awesome. Whereas if you were to binge on like ice cream, for example, you're more than likely after a couple scoops already going to be way over your calorie limit. Principle number 3, follow simple rules that make fat loss impossible. Now here's exactly what I do. Number 1, intermittent fasting. Now this isn't magical. It's not going to magically speed up your metabolism. All intermittent fasting simply does, it decreases your eating window. So the word breakfast literally means breaking the fast. And so you get to choose when you break your fast. Typically people break their fast as soon as they wake up, which is why people tend to associate breakfast with eating first thing in the morning. But you can actually have your breakfast, you can actually break your fast later on in the day. And it's actually recommended by a lot of scientists, including Andrew Huberman, to not have your first meal until 1 hour after waking. But you can also wait a couple more hours after waking. Just because you wake up doesn't mean you have to automatically eat your first meal right away. Like you can delay your breakfast by a couple of hours if you want. And the longer you delay it for, the shorter your eating window will be, naturally speaking. So for me, I like to delay my breakfast by a couple of hours. I'll have a ton of water, I'll have some electrolytes, I'll drink a black coffee, and I'll just get a crap ton of work done. Not only does this decrease my eating window, which allows me to eat larger meals in a shorter time span later on in the day, I also use it for mental clarity. I notice I'm a lot more productive if I'm not eating something first thing in the morning, and I can get a lot more stuff done as opposed to waking up and then just taking the time to like cook a breakfast and then having that just kind of sit in my stomach, having it digest, and then doing that while trying to work or exercise. My body isn't used to it, that's probably why, but also I just never really been a big breakfast eater right away. So I typically just tend to delay my breakfast, have a coffee in the morning, have some water, have some electrolytes, and then when I'm actually hungry is when I actually eat. That's probably the biggest reason why I do it. I'm just not hungry in the morning, and I never want to force myself to eat something, especially if I don't feel like it. Number 2, high step counts. So like I said, I average around 20,000 steps a day, and that keeps my daily activity extremely high. Now I'm not telling you to get in 20,000 steps because that can be very extreme, and it's definitely something that I worked up to. Like when I first got my Fitbit 4 or 5 years ago, my goal was to simply get 10,000 steps in. If I got 10,000 steps in, I'd be really happy. But I just noticed that over time, as I'm just being more physically active, and then also now because I'm running for my marathon, I'm trying to get a sub 3-hour marathon. Naturally, I'm just simply walking a lot more. I'm just a lot more on my feet now. And because I have all these habits set in place now where I combine texting with walking, calling with walking, even sometimes working with walking, I just tend to naturally be a lot more active than I used to be. So if you're watching this right now, you live a super sedentary lifestyle, you're like myself and you have a desk job and you work on your computer all day, just start off nice and small. If on average you're getting around 5,000 steps in, don't try to go from 5 to 10,000 in one day. Maybe shoot for 6,000 for a couple of weeks. And then once you've maintained that lifestyle and that habit, maybe shoot for 8,000 a day. And then maybe for 10,000. But just know that there's not like the secret step count number that you have to hit every single day in order to lose body fat. Like it's all relative to the person. I know a bunch of people who only get around 8,000 steps in a day, but they're still extremely lean, they're super healthy, they're shredded. They just may have to eat a bit less food. And I would rather have my outputs be a lot higher so that my inputs can be a bit higher too. I'm a big foodie, I love eating food, and I would rather just be a bit more active to allow for a bit more food as opposed to not being so active to not eat as much food. This is honestly just personal preference because at the end of the day, when it comes to fat loss, calories in versus calories out still applies. Like we're not breaking the rules of thermodynamics here. I'm just saying that by incorporating these lifestyle changes into your lifestyle, that you don't really have to fuss over tracking every single gram of food. If your activity is high, diet, if you're making good food choices, because naturally speaking, it's going to be very difficult for you to overeat if you're implementing these lifestyle changes. Number 3, high protein meals. Try to revolve every single meal you eat with a quality source of protein. Whether it's chicken breast, beef, steak, fish, eggs, egg whites, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, you name it. If you revolve your meals around protein, you're going to be good to go. Not only does protein help you build more muscle, it's also the most satiating macronutrient, which means it takes a bit longer for your body to break down and digest compared to carbs and fat. So it's literally like a win-win situation. You build more muscle, you're more satiated, you tend to overeat less, win-win-win situation. And number 4, single ingredient foods. Lean meats, fruits, and veggies. No processed calorie bombs. Even without a food scale, I knew I was in control because these rules automatically kept my calories lower while keeping me nice and full. Now combine that with high activity and your body fat will melt away. So if you're a busy guy who wants to get shredded without having to obsess over tracking your calories, apply these 4 principles today. And if you want the exact system that I use with all of my clients to help them drop 30 to 50 pounds without sacrificing their favorite foods or spending hours in the gym, go ahead and watch this video right over here, and I'll see you there. Peace.